welcome back to the Sports Lounge, and now it's time for my weekly one-on-one interview with the sports editor of the Collegian, Mr. Drue Aman.
Good to be here. I think you should call this segment Travis Kriens is Burning.
Ooh,
I don't know. With the goatee, I don't know.
Good.
You think not?
Probably not, no.
Okay.
But
Well, how about beyond the interruption?
would you say what we do here, we kind of look beyond the box score as we cover?
I feel like we go beyond it a little bit.
As we look at SDSU basketball, athletics, mainly basketball throughout the week.
Yeah, really deep, insightful stuff going on here.
Yes.
It's all good.
Start with the women on Saturday night. They lose a 3-point game to IPFW, 70-67. They blow an 8-point lead in the final 8 minutes. This was a game where they didn't play well at all, but at the end, you know, maybe they could have pulled it out, but in the end they didn't. And this was a bad, bad loss.
And I think it's the theme of their year. Was
a microcosm. This game.
Yeah, it all kind of, the way they played all kind of manifested itself in those last few minutes, where nobody wanted the ball, nobody wanted to take the big shot. That just seems like that's been all season for them. One thing I took away from it in particular is they've had these problems all year.
Yeah.
Where with you know, people needed to be leaders, poor ball handling, stuff like that, just generally not playing well. And I'm beginning to wonder why this isn't being changed. And I'm starting to think, you know, are the kids listening to AJ?
Mm-hmm.
You know that AJ is saying the same things
Yes.
over and over. We have to do this, or we're not going to get better. But it doesn't appear like they're either taking that in and doing something about it. So I don't know why this stuff is happening, but it just doesn't seem like they're really in tune with what, you know, Coach Johnston is kind of saying, and I wonder if that's ever going to happen at any point. You know, you always like your coach better when you're winning, and they're not winning right now, and I don't know if that's going to get changed, but you know, I think if somebody makes a big shot, if somebody steps up, I think they'll play better.
There was a chance to make that big shot in this game, and we kind of thought maybe they turned the corner last week, had a couple nice road wins.
Mm-hmm.
But then they come home for IPFW, a surprising team kind of. They're a team on the rise. And this was a very winnable game. And you mentioned the poor ball handling, 28 turnovers. You know, do you see this team turning it around? Because you said, you know, maybe they're not executing the way they should.
I think this is just going to be a year where they're not going to get to the point where they're going to be legitimate contenders, I don't feel. I don't think they have the outside shooting that they've had in previous years. Leadership, I don't think they have that quite as much as with Corman and Bover as last year. And I think it's just going to be a struggle. Now, you know, anything can happen in Sioux Falls with the Jacks crowd, but a lot of things are going to have to go right, I think.
Something that I found somewhat interesting in this game, IPFW had never beaten the Jacks before.
Yeah.
The Jacks knocked them out of the tournament last year. But their coach Chris Paul, he was very complimentary toward AJ and said, you know, we look at this team as the standard in this league. We try to copy this team. We try to, you know, do what they do because we like, you know, how they've become successful. And what does that say about, you know, the SDSU program?
Well, yeah, he likes South.
He does
likes
South.
a lot.
For some reason, that's what he says.
Loves South.
Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't you want to be like SDSU? 2 straight tournament appearances, and they were, you know, 1 bucket away from the Sweet 16 2 years ago. This is absolutely a program that you want to, you know, aspire for. Just because, you know, they're having a down year, that doesn't mean that you don't want to become a program like that. Because Aaron Johnson's had winners year in and year out. It's still a good program. I think it just might not be a great program this year.
And on Monday, the Jacks played Oakland. And now we have some post-game comments from Aaron Johnson's press conference after that game.
Well, that was a tough start to the game. I was 3-4 minutes in, didn't know if we'd have a chance at the end to even be there. So, you know, it was good to see our team gather themselves after a good start by Oakland and maybe a sluggish start on our part. I thought down the stretch we executed much better. We had the ball in the right spots, ran sets and cut shots, and got to the free throw line, did everything we probably needed to do, but just didn't finish some shots. Oakland hit a couple of big ones late. They've got a nice team. I thought we played very well defensively. They played well defensively. We've had a lot of close games with them over the years. It's a good matchup for both teams. So, but tonight they were better than we were.
Questions? What do you think contributed to the slow start?
Don't know. I wish I did. I wish I had a better answer for you. We just were really flat. It just looked like, I don't know, that was probably one of the poorest starts I think we've had this year. And that's an objective statement, not an emotional statement. It just was really hard to watch. I don't know where that came from. So the nice thing is we don't see that often from our team, so I'm hoping it's more of a fluke than it was a norm.
How, Coach, like you mentioned, the execution in some ways was better, and yet does it hurt more to have the layup or have the free throw and just not make it?
No, I mean, I don't think the way that we lost tonight to me feels any different than how we would have lost any of our other games. Ultimately it's still the same feeling. Had we made one of those layups down the stretch and one by one, all the other layups probably wouldn't have bothered me. So it's not like, ultimately it's a winning and losing game, and that's what you feel at the end. So how it happened, I don't think makes it feel better or worse. I think from a coaching standpoint, you always have to look at execution and decide if you're getting your players where they need to be and doing our job, and are they executing. And from that standpoint, we executed better, but we didn't finish it.
Talk about having those losses at home and what that does for just the confidence. Is it starting to affect them a little bit?
I don't know. I just think losses in general. That's kind of like I said before. You can play poorly and win by one, and that feels a heck of a lot better than playing great and losing by one. And that doesn't matter if you lose in the United States or around the world or beyond. Losses feel like losses, whether you're in Frost or anywhere else. So, in terms of confidence, I would think some losses probably does shake some confidence. But on the other side, Kristen made a couple of big free throws there to even get to that point. So there's someone and people around her that can draw some confidence from that too. So ultimately, confidence comes from deciding what you want to let into your filter. And if you filter nothing but bad thoughts into your head, that's how you're going to play. If you filter thoughts that you can do well and be successful, then that's how you'll play. And everyone on our team has a filter, and we need to control it and do a good job with how we take information.
Free throw shooting tonight was obviously not something that was what the team had been doing in the past, and just your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's tough. We had our really good free throw shooters up there. Steph 0 for 2 is a very good free throw shooter. Kristen and Jenny are both really good free throw shooters. So, a lot of times free throws have a lot to do with just personnel. Some are better at it than others, and we had our good ones up there, and they just didn't go in tonight. But they have been recently. We've been better at that spot, and I suspect we'll get better with it again.
Anything else?
Do you get to a point after so many close games that go the wrong way where, I don't know how you shake things up late, but you know what I mean, that the definition of insanity is do the same thing over and over again, expect different results. How do you try and kind of, just mix it up for the kids so that they have a fresh approach, or just got to get over this hurdle?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we just mix things up because of the result. We're not going to start, chasing something or just taking flyers here to see if something will create a spark. I don't think it's the spark as much as it is just the finishing part of it. So we have to keep practicing and get better. We ran a few different things here tonight, and we had some different lineups in, and so I wouldn't call that just mixing it up. We adjust to how the game is going and where we're at with our injuries and with foul trouble and everything else. So we've got to be ready for a number of different scenarios. And but again, I thought our team was tonight. I think they handled the scenarios very well. I never felt like they were out of sync or took a poor shot at the wrong time late. I just think all those things went really good. And so now it just comes down to making that shot or making those free throws, and I don't doubt that we'll get that done.
And now focusing on the men now, they had their biggest win ever in Summit League play, a 35-point win over IPFW this past Saturday, and I would say this was their most complete game offensively, defensively they've had the entire year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They had a similar performance like that against Western Illinois where they won by 31, but I think
As far as I've seen.
At home,
Yeah.
as far as we've seen in person, that was
Against much
by
better
far.
competition than Western.
Yeah, IPFW is a good team. I'm not sure how good of a team they were on that night.
They were bad.
It just kind of seemed like they just no-showed and then they coasted when it got out of hand. That's a really good win for them. I think Nagy keeps preaching how there needs to be a transformation.
Yeah.
A commitment to defense. I think that was a good start. I think they have to do it for the remainder of the conference season. And I think we'll get another sneak peek of that on Thursday when they play UMKC. That's a team they beat handily on the road a few weeks ago. But if they play the way they did Saturday and they keep that up, they're a really, really hard team to beat because they are so good offensively. And I said last week that if they even just made a slight improvement defensively, I think they're, what are they, 5-4 in the conference right now? 5-4, yeah. If just with a slight improvement, I think they're 6-2 right now. But I think they should be happy with where they are. They're one game out of second. No one's going to catch Oakland, but I think they're in prime position really now to make a run. They have 2 very winnable games coming up this weekend. They finish out on a tough road trip, but they've shown they play well on the road. So it's amazing what one win will do, and especially a win like that.
Clint Sargent had 24 points, 5 threes. He was, I think he's been more aggressive these last couple games. He's closing in on the all-time 3-point mark for SDSU players. You should get that in the next, probably in 2 weeks from now.
This season.
But the guy that put his stamp on this game was Dale Moss. As well of a game as I've seen, 17 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, had the great dunk, which we're showing right now. Just threw it down one-handed. But I also, something that people didn't mention was his defense on Jeremy Mixon, their guard, kind of their spark plug off the bench.
Mixon's a great guard off their bench,
Held him scoreless, and Moss was on him for a while, and I thought he did a very nice job.
I think Moss was the difference, really. I think just with his presence and his energy just starting out, I think that really just trickled down all the way, 1 through 12. I really do. Why haven't we seen that from Moss every game, you feel? It's just like, he's always high energy and obviously has all the athleticism in the world. But to get that kind of production, I don't know where that's been from him all year. He kind of
for his whole career, basically.
Right. It's kind of been you look on the stats and he's just doesn't do much, and then
5-6 points here and
there, he just shows something when he should. Like, he's a really good player, and he looked like a really, really good player on Saturday. And will that keep on going? I don't know, but he really made a statement, I felt, on Saturday where if he's really going, he makes a huge difference. He's one of the best athletes in the conference.
Without a doubt, he's the best athlete on this team.
Oh yeah,
and if he can get going, I mean, he's not much of a shooter, but he was feeling it that night, even shooting. He had this turnaround fadeaway, which
some mid-range,
and he got it. Yeah,
he did, and I guess it probably helps to have Sargent be on fire.
Yeah.
So IPFW was focusing on Sargent. He couldn't miss no matter where he was on the floor. So that helped Moss out as well. But Moss, Sargent, Dykstra, all these guys had great games Saturday. But I think Moss headed that group.
And the press conference, well, this was a big win. This game was decided, basically at halftime, first 5 minutes of the second half. Jacks kept the pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
But that press conference, Nagy seemed relaxed, laughing as much as I've ever heard in a Scott Nagy press conference.
Yeah.
That's different than what we've seen the past couple of years, is it not?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But it's because they played so well.
And that was fun. I
mean, because I think IPFW was 2 for 16 from 3, and the Jacks were literally the worst in the nation at 3-point defense. So I think, obviously you're going to be a little happy after that. Now he was shoeless as well.
Yes. All the coaches were.
The whole coaches were. It was amazing. It was amazing. But that's about as positive as I've seen Nagy in a while. And if they keep winning, I would expect more of that.